Hi, people. This is DJ.
This is Ish.
And this is
Season
season 3
3
of Pero Let Me Tell You. Because the food value there was right between the Westchester Mall and where Kmart was.
Okay, sí, so estaba medio escondido.
Right. It was on the side of Kmart. But
in that corner.
In that corner.
Okay.
So then when it closed in like the early to mid 90s,
was there that long?
yeah, they knocked down the wall and extended Kmart. But I used to go to the Food Valley. That's a Food Valley we used to go to with my mom in the 80s, and I could tell in the 80s that supermarket was of the 50s.
Oh, so it kind of got stuck in time.
It had that font. That whimsical font.
yes, okay.
And those lamps with like little holes in them.
Yes.
You know what I'm talking about?
Very like when Tomorrowland was being futuristic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, very 50s. So with that said,
welcome
to episode 127.
Oh, welcome everybody.
How is everybody?
I think everybody's good. It's Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday.
It's Friday. You can't be bad on a Friday.
So as we keep, September is...
Oh, yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. Yeah. And soon it'll be October, which means Halloween.
And once October gets here, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Is Halloween canceled this year?
Well, I don't know about Miami, but Halloween has been canceled in Los Angeles. I think the government canceled it.
LA has a
little bit of a breathing problem, shall we say?
All the whole west coast of the country.
A little bit of smog, a little bit of pollution, a little bit of fire.
I
think I read that the other day. Yeah.
So I actually had read it I had heard it, but of like small towns, not like a big town,
like a metropolitan. Yeah.
LA.
Well, I mean, you read that the Thanksgiving Day parade this year is just it's going to be virtual.
The Macy's one?
The Macy's, yeah. So they're not doing the whole parade. They are going to have...
Okay, hold on.
I know. Would you like a sip of my wine? I feel like you need something to...
Because, I've talked about it in this show.
Something to bring you down.
The Macy's Thanksgiving parade is my jam.
I know it is.
It is my jam. I have been watching that thing since I could walk.
Yep.
Since
before I
could walk, I mean. And religiously, I watch the same thing every year. And it's the same thing every year.
So the good news is it will still happen.
Okay.
It's just going to happen differently. So as opposed to being the entire parade route, they're just going to basically have like the balloons kind of come to like the Herald Square.
Macy's, yeah.
Just kind of go there. And I'm assuming, I haven't read too much about it, and they're probably still figuring it out, but I'm assuming that the performances will probably be like pre-recorded in a studio type of a thing.
Performances are always awful.
Because they're all lip-synced.
But they're lip-synced
it's
like
horrible.
Awful.
It's so obviously horrible, I do say I feel bad for like all of the marching bands. Because I don't know if that's even going to be a part of it, but that's what you go for, like as a school, it's like I'm going to be the Macy's parade, and not going to happen this year. But
if I had some power, I would try to bring back Betty White. Betty White hosted the Thanksgiving parade for 20 some 30 years.
They pushed back her Lifetime movie for this year to next year. Her Lifetime Christmas movie, yeah.
But it wasn't done. It
hadn't started filming. Those Lifetime movies, they film them in like a week and a half.
Yeah.
Like I think it takes us longer to record than it does to film a Lifetime Christmas movie. And so they pushed it back because of the pandemic. And obviously, I mean, she's in her, she's 98?
She's either 96 or 98.
She's up there. So obviously there's a lot of concern for her health. So they pushed it back for next year. So, maybe they'll get to filming it maybe later this year, but it won't premiere until next year type of a deal. But yes, where she was playing Mrs. Claus. Yeah.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
That's so cute. So, it's a shame. I mean, a lot of things are a shame. But as we discussed here a couple of episodes back, there's just going to be so many Tiger King references that we could have had this year that are gone.
Not the least of which is Miss Carole Baskin dancing to Eye of the Tiger.
So let's talk about that. Actually, that's what I wanted to bring up.
Let's jump in.
So Dancing with the Stars premiered this week.
Yes.
And
before anything, we got to give it up to Justina Machado. She
was great.
Tore that shit up.
She was. I texted you while she was dancing.
Yes.
I'm like, she was great, but I'm like, Were you really surprised?
The only reason I didn't text you back is because I was in the middle of watching it, and I was in awe of her 21.
You know that the only person I missed was the person I wanted to see the most.
AJ?
AJ.
Me too.
Did you miss it?
I missed it.
But I can imagine AJ was probably good. AJ
Yeah.
from the Backstreet Boys.
Nelly was not as good as I thought he was going to be.
Nope. He wasn't. But también they had him dancing salsa. And
Yes, it's hit or miss, but I thought he'd be a little better.
But I think that salsa is a hard one to take on week 1 if you're not used to dancing salsa.
Fair enough, pero esta muchachita Jeannie Mai, oh my God, I didn't know she was going to be that great.
So the reason I wanted to bring up Dancing with the Stars and Carole Baskin is because
I thought you wanted to bring up Carrie Ann Inaba looking like cosplay Mariah Carey.
Yeah, you saw that?
Yes. Like I turned to Jose and I'm like, is she cosplaying as Mariah?
I did it. I'm like, wait. So I heard this from a lot of people, and I actually thought similar. So Carole Baskin is easy to say she's persona non grata. We don't like Carole Baskin. You know, for all we know, she fed her husband to the tiger
right.
and all that. And she's on Dancing with the Stars. And I don't know if you've ever looked into this. When people go on Dancing with the Stars, they make a significant amount of money.
You told me about this one time.
It's a pay structure. Like it starts off like the first week
everybody makes
like
X.
$100,000, and then like as each week
that much, 100?
Yes, they make a lot of money. As each week progresses, the scale goes up higher. So
so with that said, hashtag pero DWTS.
Yes.
Okay, people, let's make this happen.
So the
use
question is, which I wanted to bring up, should somebody as controversial as her, who is, you know, allegedly
yes.
had such a shady past, are we rewarding this behavior by putting them on Dancing with the Stars?
I mean, it's an interesting question because I don't have an issue with her being on the show because I think of her as the Tiger King lady. You know what I mean? Like, she has not been convicted of anything. You know, you could make the argument that there are people who I can't think of right now, but there are people who, you know, kind of use Dancing with the Stars as the part of the rehabilitation tool. Ryan Lochte, there we go. That's what, you know, as part of like the rehabilitation in the public eye tour. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't be the first time that somebody has used Dancing with the Stars to come on and kind of be like, look, I'm not a horrible person. But I don't necessarily think that again, remember that this documentary was edited for the story that it wanted to tell, right? So I don't necessarily know that she's a bad person, quote unquote. I don't think she's innocent. You know, I think she has her ulterior motives when it comes to wanting the zoo, which she got. You know, so there's a lot to be said, but I mean, she's not a convicted felon.
Well, but not even, look, I don't have a problem with a convicted felon, because if you're a convicted felon and you went to jail and you paid your debt to society,
Mira, I would probably have a harder time with like an R. Kelly.
Well, okay, but that's something completely different.
But that's what but I'm saying, you know,
right, but that's something completely different, because, you know, you're talking about R. Kelly, about a constant abuse of power and just
pedophile allegations,
behavior, you know.
Yeah.
But let's say somebody that had some type of criminal past and made their debt to society and their celebrity, and they went to jail, rehab, whatever, and they paid their debt to society. I don't mind that they go to Dancing with the Stars. What I'm saying is that with her especially, there was a lot of blowback about her being on the show.
Yeah,
because she's making a profit out of it.
Well, yeah, I mean, she's getting paid to be on it like everybody else.
Right. So,
she's going to donate it to the cats and kittens.
She was so awful.
You know what? She was bad, but in a much more palatable way than Kate Gosselin.
Oh, no, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, she was bad in like she was in on the joke.
Exactly. Because when she was doing those like tiger faces,
right?
Like she was probably like, whatever.
Even like her package where she's like, I'm off to LA, and she went off on the bike. I'm like, hey, I'm montó la bicicleta hasta Los Angeles.
Right? Yeah.
You know?
No. Yeah. She definitely was in on the joke. As
I will say, I feel bad for her because the rumor is, as you know, her husband's family aired a commercial, asking for help finding his disappearance.
Yeah.
Apparently, she was told of that commercial airing like 10 minutes before she performed.
Okay, what? And do you think she was going to be great before?
No. But I feel bad for her because then I don't know if you noticed when Tyra, asked her a question, she didn't answer. She just kind of like nodded her head. So I'm sure,
right.
Again, things like that, are a lot to take in. on live television.
Right. No, I understand. But yeah, it's kind of these things like, are we awarding people, rewarding people that have, these questionable pasts or matters with being on a show like Dancing with the Stars?
But in her case, it's rumor.
Yeah, it's a rumor.
It's rumor.
No, I'm putting it out there in terms of
right. I'm saying, in her case, it's rumor. It's not like, again, I hate to come back to R. Kelly, but where it's like, well, he got off and it's been rumor, but it's like,
yeah, but is it rumor?
I don't know. No. It's a little different with her.
Yeah. So,
what did you think of Tyra?
I thought she was okay. She wasn't as bad as I thought she was going to be.
She had some moments there where I was like, you need to rein it in. She was trying to create drama at some points where there was none. Like, literally, I forget who it was that just had danced. The judges, were complimentary. It's week 1. Like, they're not going to tell you, you fucking suck. Why are you here? And they gave their scores, which was like, I think like an 18, right? For a first week, you get an 18. That's great. And she was like, oh, the judges being shady with the shade, all the shade. And I'm like, what shade, Tyra? Are we watching the same show?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think we discussed it last week. She was in my first. Mm-hmm. I would have not gotten rid of Tom.
He's the perfect host.
But
fine, here we are.
If we would have gotten somebody else, she would have not been my first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, 10th, 20th choice to be the host. And no shade at Tyra Banks. I don't dislike.
It's just that she's a certain type of host.
Right. That's
not necessarily.
Tyra Banks is like a 99 when I think that for Dancing with the Stars, a 50 is good.
It's okay. It's fine. Okay. It's fine. We're good. Okay. We're good. I mean, listen, it could have been worse. It could have been Andy Cohen.
Well, that's true. Because I think that Tyra Banks, and again, it's not a criticism to her. Tyra Banks is about Tyra Banks.
Right. When you hire Tyra Banks, you're going to get Tyra Banks.
You're getting the Tyra Banks show.
Right.
Tyra Banks is the show. That's part of the package, right? Whereas I feel that a show like Dancing with the Stars,
the spotlight has to be on the dancers. Yeah.
Because not even the judges that have been there forever,
they don't make it about themselves.
Even Bruno. Like, Bruno's fun, but
he does a shtick,
move on.
Yeah,
it's about the dancers and their package and all and the dance. So I mean, we'll see.
Yes, we will. We will see. We will see. So I wanted to share a story of something that happened to me this week.
Oh boy, here we go.
All right. So and you don't know anything about this, so I'm keeping it fresh. Mm-hmm. So on Tuesday.
Please don't tell me live on air that you're moving to another city.
No.
Because that didn't go well the last time that you dropped that on me.
It's true. It didn't. Well,
it did not go well.
It didn't go well at all. But
you know what? Go, vete.
You know what? We've worked through it. We're here. We've gone to our version of therapy. So I'm here. It was like I fell asleep on the couch. It was late, whatever. At como a las 4 de la mañana, I get a knock on the door, but not a knock, like a dong 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 dong. And I wake up, I'm like azorado. But then you know how like you hear things and then you wake up, you're in a deep sleep and you're like,
you're disoriented.
Did I dream it? Yeah. Did this happen or whatever? So I'm like, what's okay? Maybe it's. But then I hear it again. Da 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 da. Coral Gables police. I'm like, okay, mind you, I'm in my underwear. So I'm like, so first thing is because I'm a big Law and Order fan, I look in the peephole to make sure it is Coral Gables police. It is. I open the door a crack and I'm like, officer, what's going on? I'm like, I'm half asleep. And he's just like, sir, we think your car may have been broken into and we're going to need you to come outside and, and check and whatever. And I'm like, okay, and the officer was like, just go ahead and put on some shorts and, meet us outside. And I'm like, okay. So I'm walking outside and I'm thinking to myself, shit, I broke into my car. It's 4 a.m. Like, I'm going to have to deal with this bullshit.
At 4 a.m.
At 4 a.m. It's bad enough to deal with it at las 12 del día,
right. But it never happened Saturday at 11 a.m.
Right. It's like 4 a.m. I'm like, fuck, whatever. So I get out there and I'm looking on the floor and I'm like, there's no glass. There's no, there's no signs of damage.
Right. A forced entry.
Forced entry, yes. So I go to the car and the officer's like, sir, we think your car may have been broken into. Did you leave your car like that? And I look in and everything that I have inside the middle glove box had been taken out and just kind of like dumped on the seat.
So in fact, they did break into your car.
So I was like, no, I did not leave that like that, whatever. And they're like, okay, sir, so apparently dumbass over here, me, I had forgotten to lock my car. And what had happened was there was somebody who had been seen actually in the building next door to me. The guy on the building next door to me was out on his balcony, 3rd floor. He was smoking a cigarette. and he noticed that there was someone going de carro en carro,
Right. Trying to see if they're open.
checking the handles to see if they're open. So he, at that point, now this was at the beginning of the block. At that point, he called the cops. The cops. Do you know where the station is from my apartment to the Coral Gables police?
Close, I imagine.
Like if it's 15 blocks, it's too far. So they come as they're turning the corner. They see the guy. The guy sale corriendo. So they close off the close off the perimeter. It's a whole production because my car has been broken into. Mind you, nothing was taken. It was literally like, if anything, maybe he took 20 cents of the change that I keep in the canine units. Again, they closed off I don't know how far, and I was talking to the cop, and the officer, and he was saying, the problem is we have to close everything because what if he goes and now breaks into a car, a block over or what have you. So okay, great, whatever. So estoy despierto. So I come back to my apartment. Estoy despierto, pero the meal, trying to like, okay, well, the crime scene unit might be coming.
How do you know that was your car?
Because they checked the plate. They checked the plate. What they had done was they were going car by car with a flashlight to see if anything looked like it was amiss inside. Because mine looked like a mess. They came and they got me. So I'm here and ya so.
Esas cosas pasan en Coral Gables.
Tuviste. So it's like.
And then they talk about Hialeah.
Y después hablan de Hialeah. You know what? Es verdad. This is, para que aprendan la gente. So I'm here and then it's like, so the sun is like starting to come up. It's like maybe 6. And I hear like a little bit of a commotion out here, but I'm like, whatever. Jose, who lives in the same building as me, because he's on the 3rd floor. At that point, he calls me and he's like, because we have been back and forth. He's like, I saw you come out of the building, but you were, what happened? He's like, oh my God, they caught the guy. I'm like, what do you mean they caught the guy? They're like, yeah, they caught him in the building next door to your apartment. So apparently they had dropped the perimeter. The guy didn't even wait like 3 minutes to double back because he had left his bike in front, like literally next to my car.
Was he a dumb thief?
He was not only a dumb thief, he was a dumb young thief. So it turns out he was, so I mean, I didn't go to sleep until like 7 a.m. that day and whatever. So I got a call the other day and I answered it actually because I thought it was something related to the podcast. I was waiting for a call from Miami-Dade Juvenile Services.
From
Juvie, to tell me that this youthful offender was in custody and if I wanted to file charges. And the first thing I asked was, well, what am I going to file charges on? Because the door was not locked. Like, what, opening the door? And they're like, no, it's unlawful entry and, whatever. So I figured I'm going to be the one who helps teach this child a lesson, and I am filing charges.
You are, you're not?
I am.
You are? Okay.
I am. I asked her already, and she's like, he's going to get community service or what have you. So, I mean, he's being detained right now or whatever. I'm filing charges. You want to know why? Because I didn't see the kid. But Jose, when he saw him, he's like, the guy has to be like 25, which means that he's probably like 17. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know what? Maybe this can be a deterrent because it wasn't like he just tried my car. He was trying all the cars. And you don't wake up one day and decide to do that. Mm-hmm. So you know what? Sabrá Dios how long he's been doing this, being like, I'll never get caught. And you know what? Now he got caught. And I'm gonna be the lesson. You know what I mean? Because sometimes the more you get away with something,
I understand,
the more likely you're gonna continue to do it.
Did they tell you if he had a record?
They did not. They did not tell me he had a record, and I've gotten out like 2 notices of I don't have to appear via Zoom court, but we'll see if that changes. But
no, it's criminal. They might, if anything, because since it's criminal, they're the ones bringing the charges, not you. They might have you just testify in terms of your damages.
Yeah, I mean, there was no damages, nothing was stolen, but
right.
Just to testify that yes, someone broke into my car and.
That's interesting. Well, sorry you went through that.
I'm still pasando el susto de las 4 de la mañana.
No, that's the worst part.
And then to hear like Coral Gables police, I'm like, oh my God, the building's on fire. That was what I thought.
Yeah. It's interesting that that's the route that you see it. That like you're gonna be the one.
Well, I mean, somebody has to.
Right. I understand.
But I feel like you're judging me a little bit.
No. I'm not. Look, I don't think it has a right or wrong answer. Mm-hmm. I don't think it has a right or wrong answer. I would like to know a little bit more.
Also, if I woke up at 4 a.m, you know what? You're going to pay some consequence.
Right. No. But seriously speaking, because a lot of times kids, when you have to see the greater scheme of things, like the big picture, a lot of times kids when they're younger, they do stupid shit. And
fair enough.
That's not that it's
not
an excuse
right.
and not that they should get away with it. But they do stupid shit that it goes on their record. And that then prevents them from getting a better job or getting certain things. And then they fall. That, in essence, makes them fall into situations and you know, your life takes a turn that maybe it wouldn't have. But you know, it's a slippery slope. Because
that's a hypothetical because it could go the other way too.
Right, because I understand what you're saying. It's like somewhere along the line, somebody
that's to be a consequence for your action.
It's a complicated subject. I mean, in this particular case, that's not even a misdemeanor. That's more like a citation.
Yeah, I mean, she told me he's going to get community service at most.
Yeah, that's
so
like
a
citation. So it's not like he's going to have even a misdemeanor on his record. But I do feel strongly about situations, especially like...
What would you have done?
What would I have done? Honestly, I probably would have not pressed charges.
Okay.
I'm not judging you for doing it.
Yes, you are.
A little bit, right?
You are. I've known you long enough to know when you're like, not judging me, but still judging me.
You know what? I'm also seeing it from the point of view that I was not woken up at that time. I was not... Because you know what, though? Even though they didn't steal something, just to know that they went in your car is a sense of violation.
Yeah.
You feel violated. It's like, how dare you go in my car? So I don't know. Maybe if I would have been in your shoes, I would have had that like...
And at 4 a.m.
Yeah, that like... Why are you in my car? Why didn't you touch my car? Did you take my iPod?
Right.
You
know what? I had an iPod Nano in there. He didn't take it. I don't think he knew what it was.
Nope.
17 years old. He's like,
square?
This cannot be anything of value.
Next. I don't know. Yeah, maybe if I would have been in your shoes, I would have done it. I don't think I would have done it, but I don't think it has a right or wrong answer. Right.
As you sit there judging me, you should have sunglasses that you're pulling down as you judge me.
So listeners, this should be a poll.
Listeners, do you judge me for what I did or not? You know what? We should put this as a poll on our Insta story.
Would you have pressed charges or not?
Press charges or not? Just put like a picture of me in front of my car, just being like,
So, wow. Oh my God, 4 o'clock in the morning. Ugh.
And you know, the cops, like, it wasn't like they went like, you know, like, no, it was.
You know what though? I don't know. Maybe if I would have been pissed enough, I would have, because I have to tell you, this is not even comparable.
Oh yeah, when they caught the kid, there were like so many cop cars in front of this building. There was like 10 cop cars. The lady who lives next door to me, when I was about to come back in, I was about to put my coat in, and she like opened her window from the bathroom, and she was like, Oye, ¿tú sabes lo que pasó? She scared me again. Yeah. So I had 2 scares. She was like, no, yo cuando vi tantas patrullas, yo pensaba que tal vez era un golpe de estado o algo que estaba...
¿Un golpe de estado? ¿A clue?
She's like, porque una vez yo aquí me encontré un niño caminando ahí en Ponce de León de 2 añitos y vaya, apenas vinieron 2 carros, pero aquí han aparecido como 13.
What I was going to tell you was that, I don't know why I just thought about this. When I was in Michigan, I think it was my first Halloween there, my first fall there. If you think they sell pumpkins here, in Michigan, it's like pumpkins everywhere.
Right.
And I found the perfect pumpkin. It was a beautiful pumpkin, and they were super cheap, like this enormous pumpkin for like $5.
Oh my God.
I loved it. I loved my pumpkin. And over there, which again, that's not a custom here, but over there, you put the pumpkin by the door.
Yeah, well, we do it here.
But not really. Like, people don't do it here like they do it up.
I always did it growing up.
They put the pumpkin by the door.
Yeah.
And I loved my pumpkin. And one day, I get home, and my pumpkin was gone. And when I look at the stairway, somebody had taken because I lived on the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
Somebody had taken my pumpkin and smashed it. And like thrown it from the balcony. And I got a bat. And
that's
like,
wrong.
I'm going to find the motherfucker who smashed my pumpkin.
That is wrong, because you didn't even take it to enjoy it.
You are going down. I'm like, you are going down. I'm smashed my pumpkin.
What a motherfucker.
I would have pressed charges.
What a motherfucker.
Directly to jail.
Directly to jail for pumpkin.
$200.
For pumpkin smashing.
So that was over a pumpkin.
So imagine a car. Imagine a car. Yeah.
No, and especially how I am about my car.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Although I would say with all the stuff that you have in your car, so you don't know banquete.
Yeah.
They would have found something.
I have so many valuable let me not say that.
It's not even valuable things. It's just you just like live out of your car. Like you just have a lot of crap in your car.
Right now, it's filled with political signs in the back.
Right.
But we still keep that neutral.
Exactly.
And not talk about
Exactly.
political
Exactly.
signs.
Exactly.
Because anybody who listens to us would know.
It's clearly it's the Libertarian Party. Obviously.
So I got like really devastating news today. And I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but you know, I think that one of the things I like to do in the show when we talk about especially personal things is to bring perspective on a lot of issues and to bring a reality to maybe things that people that listen to us don't necessarily experience.
Like when you judge me for pressing charges against a minor.
Exactly. Right. So as many people know here, I'm a guardian ad litem, and I've been a guardian ad litem for 5 years, and actually almost 6 years.
Wow.
And for those of you who may or may not know, so guardian ad litem, when a child is removed from the parent's home because of abuse or neglect, they are put in the foster system, and they are assigned a guardian ad litem.
So you're their voice, basically.
I am their legal advocate in court, and because the mom gets like 10 attorneys and 10 caseworkers,
right?
And so does the father, and
who speaks for the child?
Nobody speaks for the child, exactly. So that's where guardian ad litems come in. And I've dealt throughout the almost 6 years that I've been doing this. I've had a bunch of kids. There's kids that I've dealt with for years that I've become very close to. But the two children that I have in particular right now I have two, a brother and a sister.
Are they new children?
No, the little girl is now 2 and he is 4.5. I've had them for 2 years. Okay. So
so how old was she?
The little girl was like 3 months old when I got her, and he was like 3 because now he's 5. So I've had these kids for 2 years, and when I first got them, they were at a certain foster home, which was a great foster home.
Right.
The great foster parents. But they had already been in like 3 foster homes at that point.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Then they were there like a year and a half, and then they were going to be adopted by their aunt who lived in North Carolina. And they started the pre-adoptive procedures, and then they sent them to North Carolina. And then when the aunt in North Carolina found out that she wasn't going to receive certain assistance, she returned the kids like returning a pair of shoes. Jesus. And then the kids got put back into the system, and then they got sent to a foster home, and then they got sent to another foster home.
Yeah, they've been bouncing around.
They've been bouncing around, and then his behavior was affected, and he started acting up in school, whatever. I found out today, so they were up for adoption. Somebody's going to adopt her, but not him. Oh. And that completely shattered, like it broke my heart. Like I took a moment to just
cry
because those are like,
that's all they've had.
They just have each other, especially him because he's 5.
He knows what's going on.
Yes. And I became very judgmental because I'm like, the motherfuckers who are adopting that little baby, the little girl, right. How can they adopt her knowing that that little girl has a sibling? I would never do that. I would never adopt a child that I know has a sibling that is up for adoption as well.
Yeah, but the alternative is the kid stays in the system.
Nope, I would not separate them. Nope. Better to be in the system with your brother or sister than one of you being left behind. And then the problem with this little boy is that nobody wants boys. Everybody wants girls.
And the older he gets, forget it.
Everybody wants girls.
Yeah.
Everybody wants girls. Everybody wants to adopt a baby girl. Nobody wants to adopt a boy.
Yeah.
That's just a reality. That's something that we're trained on.
And again, the older you get,
nobody wants to adopt a boy. And I don't have to say it. Ethnicity and race has a lot to do with it. There's certain races that people don't want to adopt, unfortunately.
Yep.
And the problem is that then these kids stay in the system, and they stay in the system, and they stay in the system, and they age out. And, that's why when you hear of certain people, or you hear of kids that, are breaking into cars in the middle of the night or just kids, that are into trouble, then you have to ask, well, why?
Right.
Because, these poor little kids, it's been one thing after another, after another, after another, after another, after another. So I give that story only so people can, before you judge, know where that person has, been and know their journey. Because, for example, in this particular case, that little girl now is going to be adopted and she's going to lead hopefully a wonderful life.
Yeah, an average
and
life.
that little boy is stuck in the gutter. So it's just, it completely shattered me. I lost my appetite. That's why I came here so hungry and with cookies.
Well, at least you brought cookies. At least cookies make everything better.
So again, I know it's a bit of a Debbie Downer story, but just so people know perspective, because, a lot of times, I hear people make some comments and I'm like, you have no clue, no clue of the realities of
you and I have said this many times.
Many people, you have no clue.
You and I have said this many times where it's like, if I've never experienced it, if I don't know it, it doesn't happen.
Your life is in a vacuum.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
Right.
If it's not my experience, it's not even that it's not a valid experience. It just doesn't exist. And that's the saddest part. But what's not sad though? Mythology.
Edith Hamilton mythology.
Edith Hamilton mythology. And following in Miss Hamilton's fantastic footsteps, I'm sure she's long dead.
Probably.
Yeah, because by the time that we were reading that book, it looked dated.
Yeah.
Following in her footsteps, though, is Andrew Otaso, who some of you may know as the writer-creator of the Instagram page and the ebook and short stories for Miami Creation Myth. What he's done is taken, his love of Miami, as what you'll hear in the interview, and kind of turned it on its head. And he's done something that you and I have said many times we love, because you have to have a certain knowing wink and nod: satire and irony. If you don't get those, we can't help you.
Irony is for smart people.
Right, which our listeners are.
Right.
So they should be okay.
Dumb people don't get irony. I know so many people that don't get irony, and I'm like, yeah, because you're dumb.
Right. But dumb people don't listen to us, so you guys should be fine. More than fine. So here is our interview with the creator of Miami Creation Myth. Hola, mi gente. Ish here. Mira, if there's one thing we all hate in South Florida, it's dealing with el tremendo tráfico. We're always stuck in super congested, pollution-causing traffic in our single-occupant vehicles. Bueno, we're here to tell you about the Velocia app that not only encourages using public transit and other mobility partners to promote greener and less congested communities, but rewards you for doing it. The Velocia app, that's VELOCIA, is partnering with Miami-Dade County to promote safe ridership on mass transit. Every time you ride Metrobus in Miami-Dade during off-peak hours, you can receive Velos points, which can be redeemed for perks, including Lyft and Uber credits. You can also earn Velos by answering daily surveys or referring a friend to the app. Así que download the Velocia app today if you're in the Miami-Dade County area, either for iOS or Android. The only thing better than helping the environment and avoiding traffic is being rewarded to do it. All right, people, welcome back. Now, as we mentioned, we have with us today based on what he just told us, the definition of the Miami hustle, the creator, originator. He writes the plays, the memes, the short stories. He has captured what it is to live in Miami in a very interesting way through his writings. We have with us today Andrew Otaso, who is the creator of Miami Creation Myth, which I think I just did something meta there because you're the creator of the creation.
Right.
So thanks for joining us today, man.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
No, listen, pleasure is all ours. So, we're two Miami boys. It's what we do. We live, we breathe Miami. What prompted you to start this Miami Creation Myth project? It's a collection of short stories, right? All based around Miami existing as only Miami can, I think is probably the best way to put it. But what led you down this path to start writing these stories?
This started about 4 years ago. So the original Miami creation myth is a series of myths that I wrote for Miami. So think like ancient Greek, ancient Roman, Egyptian, with all the gods, goddesses.
Like what was that lady's name? Edith, what? The author,
I'm sorry.
the author who wrote. Oh my God, we had this mythology book growing up. Never mind.
Edith Hamilton.
Edith Hamilton mythology. There we go.
Oh, you're the one that did all the different like cultures.
It was like a mythology like book or like a dictionary growing up. We got a couple years on you, so maybe they no longer put Edith Hamilton out into the world.
Yeah. So I created this basically a mythos, right? And I had partnered up with a friend of mine who's a director, and we started making plays out of it. We wrote, I never did any playwriting before, but wrote a bunch of scripts based on this creation myth. And for example, there's like the creator god is named Patango, and the way the creation myth starts is that he wakes up on the divine Ping Pang Pung, and in the great vast void, and the first thing, literally the first word in creation was "Ño, que frío," and so he makes the sun rises over the horizon, and he's like, "Pero que cosa más grande! I'm gonna make the universe. I'm gonna make everything. It's gonna be beautiful." And then his mother busts through the celestial door of the universe and says, "Yo no soy gerente de la compañía de electricidad, paga esa luz." And he's like, "I'm trying to the universe." And she's like, "No me importa, salte de aquí." So he's like, "Fine." Rolls up the ping pong boom, takes it to another universe, and starts all over again. So that's to give you a little bit of flavor of this ridiculous thing that I wrote. And there's a god of Chisme whose name is HP, and it's literally the universe is Miami-Dade County. At the Broward County border, there's a giant chasm, and no one knows what's on the other side. They assume it's Fort Lauderdale, but nobody really knows. So
I mean, it's true. We don't know what's on the other side of that Broward County line.
No, it's funny because as I'm looking, like scrolling here through your Instagram page, which everybody who doesn't follow Miami Creation Myth, stop what you're doing now unless you're driving and follow them right now. But you have all these shots at Broward, which I think is really funny. Yeah. And I often hear in the podcast kind of have my own little shots at Broward, where I say that there's so many people who come down to Fort Lauderdale, but they don't come down to Miami. And I make the distinction, well, the similarity that's kind of like going to New York City and not going to Manhattan, right? And did you really go to New York City? So what do you think is the whole thing of people that come down here and they're afraid to come down to Miami? That's I've always found that really odd.
I think that part of it is like this cultural chasm, right? So down here in Miami, oh man, this is where the crazies live. This is where the freaking Spanish-speaking lunatics live, and this is like crossing the border into another country. So they're like, well, let me stay up north. Let me go to Sunny Isles. Let me, go to Las Olas and hang out with the gringos. I just feel more comfortable there. And conversely, whenever I cross into Broward or I go up to, God forbid, West Palm Beach, I feel immediately out of place. I'm like, I don't belong here at all. There's like, I don't know, maybe those streets are a little bit wider. I don't know, people are driving a little bit better, but I feel immensely uncomfortable.
It's funny you say that because West Palm Beach is, relatively, it's not that far in Palm Beach County, but it feels Earth like an eternity away.
It might as well be on the other side of the country. Yeah.
Feels like we need to take a space shuttle over there, and it's like 45 minutes without traffic.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, and we ask this question a lot of times to like people that are like Miami-based influencers or creators. If you were able to sum up Miami in a few words or in a sentence to somebody who's never been here, doesn't know much about it, is very foreign to the concept of who we are, how would you describe it?
Infuriating, exquisite, absolutely chock full of contradictions. And it's not one city; it's a myriad of different cities.
Yeah,
jammed together.
Can I borrow to help answer that the title of one of your short stories from your ebook, like the Most Miami Story Collection, bro, available now? Yeah. You have a story in there that the second I wrote the title, I was like, I relate. Miamians should be proud, but also fuck this city.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, I love Miamians, even though they constantly exacerbate me and they're just like, they can be infuriating, but I love the people that make up the city. The city itself, these structures, the political power that basically calls the shots here and makes everybody else, dance to their tune, I despise. Um, and so I make the distinction in that piece where I say, I'm not here to shit on Miami. By the way, can I curse here?
I just said fuck, so yeah.
Well, yeah. So I'm not. This is another piece where like some freaking asshole from freaking Brooklyn comes down to Miami. Is like, oh, it's all sex and cocaine because I never left freaking Miami Beach. This is. I truly love this city, and I truly love the people in it. I love everything about it, but it needs to be an infinitely better city for the residents that live here, because there's so much that the people that live here deserve that we don't get because our politicians, our elected leaders, don't give a fuck.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that you say that, because, most people probably from the majority of your memes on your Instagram, and even, from reading your writings, there's definitely a lot of humor in what you do. I mean, for Christ's sake, there's a short story that's all about the first annual Carole convention.
Oh, yeah.
Which I totally want to go to, because I can't wait to see all the Caroles reunite in one place. But then you also have a section, in your collection about race and ethnicity, where, you maybe satirize a little bit, but you really get into the nitty gritty of, a lot of the things that are the realities we face here, such as, the inherent racism or just all those little things that we kind of don't want to view in ourselves, I think. What prompted you to kind of try to sneak that in to what is an otherwise, humorous collection of stories, right?
Mm-hmm. I try with my memes and with my stories, even when they're humor, especially when they're humorous stories, I kind of try to trick people into thinking. So like, here's a really silly thing that I'm writing. Like for instance, I wrote a piece that was titled "Hole in the Ground Sells for $7 million at Art Basel." So like, yeah, that's a ridiculous headline. So people are going to click on it, and it's like, it's clickbait, very much so. But it critiques this sector that's very, very vacuous here in South Florida. Or like, I'll do a meme about Miami politicians. That's like really simple and really stupid on the surface, but I'm trying to communicate that, hey, everybody, we need to have a stronger civil society in this city. We need to be more accountable to ourselves, and we need to hold our elected officials more accountable. So it's like a little bit of sugar with like, I don't know, a little bit of medicine.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a little bit about that, because I'm very into politics, and I love politics. From like a layman's terms, yeah, a little bit from a layman's terms. What would you say is the biggest political challenge that we have? Lack of proper leadership, or people, or an uninformed electorate?
I think that partly because we're such a young city, and again, the original, I don't know, trailblazers that came down here in the 1920s will disagree, but we haven't grown into a metropolis, until like the 1960s, 1970s. But I think that our biggest problem in the city is the lack of I guess like a philosophy among the general population of civic engagement. So, I lived in Boston, I lived in DC, I lived in New York, I lived in all sorts of different cities, older cities, much more established cities that have established centers of civic society, whether they be, formal nonprofits or just like affiliation societies, that if the local government or the state government were to start to trample on a policy prescription that they preferred, they immediately mobilize. And I feel like, again, partly because we're a city of immigrants largely, so many of us here weren't even born in this country, or are, like myself, are the descendants of individuals who emigrated. That civic culture hasn't been established yet. It's grown, but it's not as widespread as it needs to be, because that's also a function of the fact that everyone's hustling. Everyone's trying to make ends meet. And you know what? When you're trying to just put food on a table and pay your rent, You don't have, you know, a Saturday every 2 weeks to dedicate to like some cause. You're trying to just survive,
Sí,
and
con qué
that's
tiempo.
huh?
Con qué tiempo. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a product again of very low wages in the city. We have, you know, a ridiculous rent to wage ratio here, and as a result of just insane prices for everything. And you're getting priced out of all sorts of neighborhoods that used to be affordable. So I'm going a little bit on a rant here, but
No, but I agree 100% with what you're saying. It's funny because I've always, since I was in high school, I've always been very interested in community service, and it's funny because so many people in my family are like, trabajar de gratis, no, eso es lo que uno tenía que hacer en Cuba, eso es lo que en Cuba te forzaban a hacer. Right, but here it's civic engagement. So, do you think that it's changing? Because I agree with that 100%, and especially when you compare Miami to like other cities around the country. Do you think that's changing with the subsequent generations?
I think so. And again, it's not knocking prior generations. My parents were just trying to survive. They got to this country with nothing, and individuals who were born here, they by and large were trying to make it and survive. And I've have enough of a base of support that I've been able to dedicate more time to these civic issues that are important to me. But I do see a lot of people, especially, you know, Gen Z, millennials, Gen Xers, even, that are freaking tired of the way that the city operates, that it's just not providing the services, the very basics that we need to just have a livable city. Because guess what? If we're gone, who the hell is going to service all these Russian oligarchs and Venezuelan oligarchs who buy up our skyline? And where's everybody going to go? Like, this needs to be a livable city. And currently, we don't have any public transportation. We don't have any rent control to speak of. I don't want to go off on a diatribe here, but
those are all very important issues.
What's that?
Those are very important issues.
Yeah. But
unless you live in Brickell.
I make fun of Brickell so much. I love it. But anyway, yeah. So I do see a growing groundswell of support for nascent civic organizations. You know, for instance, I'm the communications director of a nonprofit called Miami Forward, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to push these policy prescriptions to make the city livable. And I know lots of other organizations and lots of other individuals that are trying to do the same.
What was the name of that again? Miami Forward?
Miami Forward, yep.
Cool. Sorry. No, it was more like it looked like you guys were freezing for a second there, so I was giving it a moment to keep going.
I'm just gonna be really still.
Yeah. So, you know, you mentioned that you've lived in several places, and you also mentioned that in, I think, in one of your writings, if I remember correctly, where, you know, when you left Miami, you realized, hey, I'm not white.
Yeah. Violently.
What is it about Miami that brought you back? You know, after being away for all those cities you mentioned, and, you know, for a minute.
I never ever felt at home. Like, you know how we were just joking about you drive into Broward or West Palm and you immediately feel like you're out of place. Mm-hmm. Well, I felt like I was on a different planet. And it's just, first of all, I hate the cold. The cold.
And you were in Boston?
Oh God, yeah, for 3.5 years.
Oh,
jeez.
Sorry,
it was awful. I lived through the highest recorded snowfall in Boston's history. The city was founded in the 17th century.
That was what, in 2015?
Yeah, it was insanity. I do not belong in those environments. My skin cracks. Like,
it's the worst.
It's awful. It's awful for anyone who's listening who's like, oh, I want to go live in the cold. I want to experience seasons. That's stupid.
I mean, it's fun. It's fun, but I do hate when my skin cracks, especially my hands. Oh,
yeah, sorry. I feel very strongly about this.
I love it. He's got strong opinions. DJ, I feel like if you ever call out sick, I feel like I can find somebody to step in with strong opinions. Just take up the slack.
That should be a new podcast. Strong opinions. Weekly. Yeah, so beyond obviously the weather and the lack of food, you know, I miss the cultures. I miss the merengue that makes up Miami. And yeah, you know, obviously I speak English just fine. Um, and I can get along with people from other cities, but there's something missing culturally. There's like a sense of humor. I One thing that like caught me completely off guard and I still can't get over is that people up north, you'll be talking to them and they just stop talking. Like you'll finish what you're saying and they stop talking and they're just staring at you. And that's their cue that that's the end of the conversation. But there's like no indication that it's over at all. And I would just like stare back at them. And I would go on for like very uncomfortable like 10 seconds. But that's just one little thing. But like my sense of humor, for example, like I'm very expressive, I'm very loud. It doesn't help that I'm partially deaf. Like, that just doesn't translate well. Like I would, you know, I'd be like, I worked in very stoic like institutions. I worked at the Harvard Business School and the Harvard Kennedy School,
Oh, wow.
and I'd be super loud. And this is like Boston Puritan, like descendant individual who just like, well, we just don't stand for this. Like
You might as well have been talking to a pilgrim.
yeah, exactly. Yes. And so like, I don't know. And like the second I'd hear like anybody speak Spanish, like my radar would pick it up. Like it could be like a janitor, like freaking 3 blocks down. I'm like, oh God, I gotta speak Spanish to you. Like
it doesn't even matter where they're from. It's just
Yeah,
Spanish. Boom.
I also think that your experience, because I know Boston well, I also think that your experience is even more heightened because it was Boston. Because I went to school in Michigan, and I experienced a lot of what you're talking about, but Boston is like another level because Boston's very bougie. And most people don't think their shit stink, and they look at you like, oh, Miami, like, oh.
I feel like
I'm
there's
like,
lots of
Miami?
people named Muffy.
I'm like, Miami and what? Like, yeah. As I always say, I'm like, listen, every time that I have to defend Miami, I'm like, listen, there's a reason why all celebrities want to live in Miami, all right?
right?
This is true.
Yeah, so you know what? Shut up. No celebrity is moving to Boston.
No one's like, yeah, I'm going to Boston, like posting on the gram, like, yeah. I would have done that.
Okay. Andrew, what part of Miami are you from?
I grew up in Coral Gables.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're Westchester boys, but I live in the Gables now, so.
Westchester.
Yeah. So did you go to Coral Gables High?
No, I did not. I went to Holy Cross.
Oh,
I don't know if you guys know about that. That was I left right before I guess was a brother killed a nun. That was nuts. And then I went to Belen.
because of the murder, or
No, luckily I left right before the murder.
okay. That's a good reason to switch schools. I'm thinking,
Yeah, no, my parents were a little bit prescient about that. They're like, things are going downhill here. So yeah.
So what would you like especially your Instagram page, somebody again who's not from Miami, because every time I see Miami based content, I love it, obviously, but I always try to think like, how would somebody who's not from here see this, right? What would they think? What would you want somebody who's not from Miami or familiar with our culture to take away from your page, from your Instagram?
My page? So I very consciously the content that I make is not for people outside of Miami. I do not try to tailor to them at all. There's certain memes and certain stories that, I'm sure translate, but I think that if you want to understand, I'm sure there's things on the surface. I mean, like I put in, poop jokes and dick jokes all over the place. So, they could laugh at that. But if you want to get to a deeper understanding of the foundation of, what point am I trying to make here, then you have to educate yourself. And that's very hard for people outside of the city to do, partly because we have the reputation of being all sex and cocaine and whatever other bullshit people from, again, to shit on Brooklyn like to say. But what I want them to take away from their page is that Miami is infinitely more complex than whatever the hell they have in their mind. It doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter how cultured you are. You have no freaking clue how this city works.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue how this city works. I've lived, most of my life.
Right.
So, go west. Get the hell out of whatever tourist trap you're in along the coastline. And actually, like, get to know how insanely awesome the city is. I didn't come back here because of Bayside fucking Marketplace or downtown or some other first bullshit. I came here because I love everything except for that.
Well, you know what? I think what may have happened to you, and Ish and I have talked about this several times throughout, our show. I think that when you grow up in Miami, and I don't know if this happens to people in other cities, but I think that when you grow up in Miami, you get to a point, generally in your early 20s, that you're like, screw this place. F this place. I hate everybody. I hate everything. I need to get out of here. I need to go somewhere else.
Experience something else. Yeah.
I'm over this bullshit. And then, as you said, when you get there, you're like, oh, but this place kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But Miami is so much better.
Yeah. Well,
I had people when I was in Michigan. I had people, and if it was more than one person, ask me, "Do you go to the beach every day?" I'm like, "Yes,
all the time,
every single day. I'm at the beach now."
All the time. That's the first thing that they ask. You go to the beach every day? No.
People in Orlando don't go to Disney every day. We don't go to the beach every day. It's.
Oh yeah, uno tiene que trabajar.
Coño.
You know how long that drive is? The big tolls.
That parking.
Yeah. Oh my God. No, I avoid Miami Beach like the plague. But yeah, so I did the same thing. I turned 18 and I was like, oh, screw this city. This place sucks, whatever. I'm going to go see the rest of the world. And then I did something really stupid, which was I went to West Point. And
oh, wow.
You want to talk about like one extreme to the other. Let me tell you, my loud ass Cuban mouth did not fit in well there. You me. And that's where I learned, I wasn't white. That's out of Miami.
Right.
Talk about freaking culture shock.
Yeah, and there's certain things like, something we say here all the time is, oh, I'm eating shit. You're eating shit, right? And that comes from comiendo mierda, which is very, and I remember when I had friends of mine up north, they'll be like, why do you keep saying that? And I'm like, doesn't everybody say that?
But he has a whole section in the ebook about that, where it's just like, it's Miami to English translations.
The Miami English dictionary, there's like, I'm from the car, and literally, which means absolutely nothing. And there's like, I work in real estate, which means either you're unemployed or you deal drugs or something.
I love my favorite was what you just said right now. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get down from the car, like as opposed to get out of the car. It's me voy a bajar del carro.
Yeah. Or something that's very Miami that I get told all the time is when you say, I'm going to pass by. And then, they're like, the literal, they're like, are you going to like not get off the car? Like, you're going to pass by?
I didn't know that was the thing.
I'm going to pass by.
Well, now in the time of Corona, that could be something else. That could be one of those birthday parties.
So wait.
Well, that is true.
By doesn't exist as a concept?
No. I by more than one person, they were like, what do you mean when you say pass by? I'm like, I'm going to go over.
Wow.
Because they literally think pass by. Like, are you going to drive slowly? And I'm like,
your house. I'm going to get eggs, and I'll be on my way.
Chico, se la visita.
Well, we, again, things that we talk about here in terms of Miami culture. Have you been to LA?
No, I have not. No.
So Ish and I, we had been to LA several times individually, but last year we went because of the podcast, and we had a great time. We recorded with other podcasts. It was a great experience. But we really noticed this time around, maybe because we went with kind of for work reasons in terms of the podcast, how different it is because they always talk about Miami being a melting pot. Obviously LA is a melting pot as well. You have all types of Hispanics, but how different the LA experience is to the Miami experience, because going with what you said, I think that the LA experience is more what somebody would think of the stereotypical Latino kind of definition is, whereas here it's just a cluster F. Like, it's just all over the place.
And it's funny because on paper they seem very much alike. I mean, it's, full of Latinos, car culture, the beach, but it's not.
But it's very different. That's why, like, I think that your content hits like home so perfectly, because we really are different. I'm not saying we're better, but we really are, like,
we're not saying, we're just implying it.
but we really are, like, really different, that it's like, nobody's really sure what's going on here, but we just know there's something in the water, like something. So there's something there,
Yeah, Miami is a globally unique city, and especially when you travel in Latin America, I feel like every single person that I talk to either is going to Miami or just came from Miami, or whose relative is doing one or the other. And yeah, it's again, there's no other city like this on the planet. And that's what draws me to it. I mean, trust me, I would much rather be making a higher wage somewhere else, but like that cultural draw is so strong that it just keeps pulling me back. It's like an addiction. I need an intervention.
So you have your ebook now. What else is in store for you? What else do you want to do with Miami Creation Myth?
Right. So, we got a couple plays under our belts. We did
at the Villain Theater, right?
Right, Villain. Yeah, I love those people. Those guys
amazing. Are
great.
Hey, if you need actors, just saying.
Oh, hey, I'll cast you guys. I write some silly ass shit, so get ready.
Just saying.
Personally, I was going to ask him if we could be the hosts of the first Carole convention.
What?
Dude,
we're available. We're available. We'll give you our agent's number.
Okay.
It's our number.
My agent. We'll give him. Anyway, yeah. So we did a couple of plays of the first chapter, which went really well. We sold out 2 shows, standing room only. It was awesome. And then we did the Flandemic, which made fun of everything that's going on right now. I don't know if you guys have had the chance to take a look at that, but essentially Flans come to life and kill everybody in Miami. And it was so stupid.
What a delicious death.
I know, right? So, that was part of a fundraiser to keep Villain open because they were struggling because of the pandemic. But we raised enough money to keep them open for the next several months. But up next, we're going to keep doing the plays. We're probably going to do different chapters. And then the ultimate goal is to put out the book, the actual Miami Creation Myth, which is, the first half is all the different myths. Where do croquetillas come from? Who's the god of reason and why is his life so miserable? And all these different things. And then the second half is the Cafecito Odyssey, which is a whole other thing, but we can get into that later. So we're going to put out the book. Then the plan is to put out a podcast, just like you guys, having actors read out their lines, read out the different parts of the book. And hopefully the end goal is to have an animated series.
Damn.
Oh, nice. Wow. Wow. I'm glad I asked that question.
Yeah, seriously. Good job, because that's a lot of stuff to look forward to.
Yeah, we've got a lot. And I've got a whole team that works with me. So I have a director, Danny Mendoza, who does great work. He's directed all my stuff so far. The Villain team, they're great. They keep making my stupid ideas reality for some reason.
It's because they recognize talent, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I'm still flabbergasted by the fact that people still are like willing to take part in these really dumb ideas I have sometimes.
It's just your ideas. It's one of those things that, like, I'm sure that when you come up with them, you probably think, oh my God, this is like ridiculous. But then when you put it down, it's genius. Because like right now I'm looking at one that says, Broward County is Miami's Canada. Nicer, neater, and with traffic laws.
Yeah. See, every now and then, I turn it on its head, and I compliment flowers, and then everyone from Miami hates on me. So that's great. I get it from north and south and east and west, everywhere.
Equal opportunity, baby. Equal opportunity.
Yeah.
You mean what I'm seeing here? Maybe I've missed some, but some realtor jokes. No offense towards realtors. I love realtors.
But we know everybody in Miami is a realtor.
Everybody's a realtor.
Everyone is a realtor. Yes.
I want a real estate license. I'm trying to get one.
Everybody else has it. I literally, when I was younger, I felt like I was missing out because I didn't have it. I didn't know what to do with it.
You know what, Andrew? You and I can start a club for those of us who don't have realtor licenses, okay?
Right, it's gonna be like 5 people. You're really small.
We're gonna wear those red jackets but inside out. So, you know.
I love people that are realtors and their hashtags like big boss, like, you know, making money, making paper. I'm like, okay, you're a realtor. That's awesome.
Everyone should be able to do that. Doesn't matter what your freaking profession is.
That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, congratulations, because like, you know, again, I know your style is a little bit like kind of whimsical and out there, but it's hilarious. It's stuff that we think about, but we don't actually manifest in something tangible.
Yeah.
On my computer. That's the only difference.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
I'm actually going to compare you in a way to like the content that is created by Jenny Lorenzo.
Oh, I love Jenny. Yeah,
In
she's
that your content is very specific, and because of that, it's even more relatable. You know, because when we were talking to her, we told her, you know, she's very clearly doing a Cuban grandmother, but she has fans across the Hispanic spectrum, right? And so, you know, you're doing something very Miami, like very specifically Miami. But I think, to use DJ's point, you know, the fact that you're coming about it from a whimsical perspective, it amplifies everything so that, yeah, if you're from Miami, you appreciate it. But I think other people can also read it and you know, have a good laugh and you know, have it resonate with them in a way.
I hope so. I hope.
So let me ask you, you know, and if you know, we could maybe wrap it up if you'd like after this. When you were in Boston, were you always missing Publix?
Oh my God. Let me tell you, I went to a place called Market Basket. Great place. Very cheap food. High quality. You know, it's owned by the actual employees. Fantastic organization. And it was a full contact sport. You had to go in there with the right mentality of like, I'm going to be hyper aggressive. I'm going to hit my cart against other people. I'm going to blow by people. I'm not going to give a fuck. And, you know, I'm going to get whatever, you know, lettuce or whatever I need for dinner.
Todo eso para lechuga.
Yeah, all that for lechuga. Yeah. Yeah. But like, yeah, I really miss Publix.
It's a thing. It really is.
Listeners, this is a video call that we're doing, and Andrew's face as he was saying, I miss Publix, like I could see the longing in his face as he remembered those times when he missed Publix.
It's a big deal. Like in Boston, they have Shaw's.
Shaw,
like,
that's bullshit. Shaw's
like,
the worst.
Oh, Shaw's is so great, and then you go there, I'm like, what? I'm
No,
like, this is Publix.
Expensive as hell. Oh, also another thing that I got freaking spoiled with in Miami is that, you know, the entire city is the ethnic line, the ethnic aisle.
Right.
Like in fucking Boston, you have Hispanic next, you know, you'd have like a foot of Hispanic next to like a foot of Asian next to like a foot of I don't know what. And like that's your freaking ethnic aisle. And it all sucks. Like, oh,
you ain't finding no plátanos in Shaw's, that's for sure.
no, absolutely not.
I always tell people up north, you don't understand. Publix is a thing. Like, it's not just a supermarket.
It's a little bit of a cult.
It's a cult.
It's a little bit of a cult. Yeah.
We great to the sandwiches, you know.
I mean, there's a BuzzFeed article about people that have moved away up north and miss Publix. Like, there's a whole BuzzFeed thing about it, you know?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
Although, let's call it by its proper name, guys. E Publi.
Totally.
E Publi, okay? Let's be respectful.
If it's sabor.
They got rid of those.
What?
Well, it's still there, but it's no longer a public sawod. I mean, like you said, the whole city is a public sawod. Like, do you really need I mean,
I guess that's just to let the gringos know that that's where the ethnics are.
We're going to public saber. Saber.
Oh, man.
Honey, is it saber or is it sabor?
Gross.
oh god! And now that we have managed to kill our language by ourselves, all right. Well, Andrew, thank you again for taking time to chat with us. For those listeners who aren't following you, it's Miami Creation Myth on Instagram, and I think you have a link on your bio page, on the bio of your Instagram page, where they can find the short stories, right?
Right.
Oh, that's I can't recommend them enough. Like, I was also, I mean, it's a couple hundred pages, so congrats on that, because I can sometimes barely muster, a grocery list. So that's congrats. But it's amazing to me how quickly I just flew through it, because it was just so entertaining, and it was just like, before I knew it, I was like, oh shit, I'm done, but I'll read it again.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Absolutely. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for joining us. All right, and listen, next time in person, once this whole stupid pandemic thing is over, we'll do a real pass by, not a COVID pass by.
Let's do it. I love that.
All
right.
All right.
Thanks.
It was a pleasure.
And we're back. I love his page.
His page is great.
So
His
guys,
stories
go
are
and follow it right now.
Yeah,
I know we plugged it during the interview, but go and follow it right now.
And actually, if you check in the details section of this episode, there's a link for his short story collection.
Yeah, it's funny because and it's true. Like, if you live in Miami, it's a little bit of a bipolar.
Absolutely,
it's like, I hate you, I love you, I hate you, I love
Yes.
you, I'm ashamed of you, I'm proud of you.
it's like your Sybil.
It's like, oh. But I do think that most people go through a phase where they're over Miami.
I think everybody goes through that with their hometown.
Yeah.
I think you could live in London, you could live anywhere, and eventually you'll just be like, ugh, I'm so over it.
It's funny because people live in, everybody, about that I saw with New York, including you. It's like, if you're born and raised in Manhattan, where do you go?
Los Angeles.
Why?
Actually, no. East Coast, West Coast. I mean, that's how you get that whole feud. And
I would go to Toronto.
okay.
I love Toronto.
I do love Toronto.
Toronto is awesome.
I love Vancouver. Vancouver was so pretty, but so expensive.
Vancouver is beautiful. Vancouver is actually one of the most beautiful places in North America. But I mentioned Toronto because Toronto feels like New York.
That's true, but just different enough.
Yes. I mean, you find poutine.
Oh, poutine.
And the most delicious maple syrup you will ever have in your entire life.
No, I want
Canada's great, let me tell you.
It is. You know what? God bless our top hat.
Like, Canada is amazing. Good food, good people, no conflict.
Celine Dion.
Mira, Celine Dion. Canada.
Ryan Reynolds.
In Canada, everybody knows this. The standard of living in Canada is as good here or better.
Yeah.
It's a democracy. You have the same freedoms you have here. Canada is never embroiled in any...
Yeah, nunca tiene un peo atravesado.
You never hear of the Prime Minister of Canada being in some controversy. Everybody loves Justin Trudeau. Yeah. But yeah, I love Toronto. I don't understand how poutine has not made it big in the U.S.
It's everything we love.
It's fries, gravy, and cheese curds.
I think it's because no American wants to say curds.
But you say curds in Wisconsin. And what's more American than Wisconsin?
That's true. Wisconsin's very American.
Yeah. You could get cheese curds in Culver's.
Oh, Culver's. Which we've got one now nearby here. It's not Wisconsin, though. It's great.
Anyway, I'm ready for
all those cheese curds.
I'm ready for my
last soda.
So I have an interesting soda to give today. Mm-hmm. It's both a flat one and a gas one.
How the hell does that work out?
Okay, so it's to Joe Rogan.
Okay.
So Joe Rogan has a few more listeners than we do. Just a few.
I mean, a couple million more, but not much.
Just a couple million
not
more.
Not
much.
But we're also available on Spotify as he is, and now we're also available on Amazon.
Right. Actually, I think he's the most listened podcast in the country.
He's always number one in the chart.
So I generally like Joe Rogan.
Really?
I do. I like Joe Rogan. Generally.
Okay. there's a lot. There's a lot I disagree with him on.
There's a lot I disagree with him on. There's a lot I disagree with him on. Generally. Okay. There's a lot I disagree with him on. Generally. Okay. There's a lot I disagree with him on. Generally. Okay. There's a lot I disagree with him on. So stated that he would vote, that he's voting for Trump.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with voting for Trump. He votes for whoever he wants to.
It's all right as Americans.
But he also said that he wants to host one of the presidential debates.
Ooh, yes, please.
My only problem with that is that he's already like
Joe Rogan. Yeah.
That he would vote for Trump. If he would have not said that, and again, it's not even that he is voting for Trump.
Right.
He already said who he's going to vote for, whether it would have been Joe Biden or Trump.
Okay.
So that would make me feel like he was a little bit biased.
He's walking in already.
But can you imagine if let's say that we thought he was not biased,
Right.
That I watch all the debates, but
I guarantee people who don't watch
that
will
was
watch.
a debate I would have gotten the popcorn for.
But I think he could still do it. I mean, there are some reporters who moderate that I'm sure we know one way or the other which way they lean.
Right? No, but he already made a public statement,
I guess.
and he has spoken about it at length. And he's
So it wasn't
He-
like an offhand comment.
He compared Joe Biden to a flashlight that's running out of batteries. It was kind of funny.
I mean, come on, that's creative if nothing else. Okay, I mean, it's
But I
still useful, but
but
gotta
I
bang
think-
it a couple times.
And then the bigger question is, should other people other than journalists, you know
Should
what
they moderate?
Should be moderators. You know what? You know who I immediately thought of?
Who?
You're gonna be like, what? Nick Cannon. Nick Cannon is very intelligent. I know that Nick Cannon just got a degree from Howard University.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think in political science, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Nick Cannon, I know that part of his image is wild out, except when he was with Mariah, because when he was with Mariah, he was always in a suit and tie.
Yeah, but a wild out, but he was never stupid.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
He was fun. He was young, pero
But he's
tampoco era como
actually very
mierda.
intelligent and very big on...
Yeah, he always struck me as not stupid.
Can you imagine, like, okay, Joe Rogan, Nick Cannon, and, like, to, like, for good measure, I don't know, Paris Hilton.
That's hot. Can you imagine she's like the smartest one out of all of them?
No, actually, no. For good measure, to have the Hispanic,
Flavor?
I would have added Charo.
Can we? Okay.
But I didn't.
Can we start that petition? Like 6 weeks ago.
Charo.
Oh no, Mr. Trump! I have that question for you. Kuchi kuchi. Like,
Stop it with the coochie coochie. Can you imagine?
and again, these are all people who are actually very intelligent.
They are.
But their persona leads you to believe otherwise.
Right.
So it's interesting because these are people who, if you were to engage in a conversation, are smart. They can carry one.
They are.
Yeah.
That's like people are very surprised when they find out that Charo is like an actual trained musician.
Yeah. She's like a prodigy or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not just her shtick.
So Joe Rogan gets 2 cans, a
Okay.
regular can and a flat
And
can.
a flat can. All right. Well, I still hope that it happens. So my last soda is actually going to go in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month to Felicitas Mendes. Do you know who Felicitas Mendes is?
No.
All right. Felicitas Mendes
Founded the Heifer Corporation.
it's been a while. It's been a while. She is a Puerto Rican civil rights pioneer.
Oh.
Now, back in 1944, she actually took the government of California to court because of the segregation laws that denied their 3 children entry into a local elementary school because of their skin color. So this predates Brown versus the Board of Education by 2 years.
Oh, okay. Very interesting.
So, with this lawsuit, that was the first federal court ruling against public segregation.
Bendito.
Exactly. Yes, I'm sure that's what they said. Nene bendito.
Bendito.
And thus paving the way for
Wow.
for
Actually,
Brown.
you know what? I did not know that.
For Brown versus.
You gave me some legalese today.
See that? And all because actually the reason I found out about it is because on the 15th of September when Hispanic Heritage Month started, she was the Google Doodle.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. I always.
Tú ves que nosotros siempre estamos empezando todo.
When our people start to get a little carried away, when I mean
little-
our
a little
people,
uppity?
when I mean
Cubans?
a little uppity, I mean Cubans. I'm like, mira, when you have a Cuban in the Supreme Court, get back to me.
Come talk to me. Let me know.
Actually,
Let me know. And you know what? I hope it happens.
When
Hope it
Sonia
happens.
Sotomayor got nominated, well, and then confirmed, I actually loved that she was Puerto Rican. Like, I love it that she was Puerto Rican and that she was
Unapologetically.
from New York. You know,
Yeah.
and I think she's from the Bronx.
I'm sure.
Very much a
With those hoops?
a New York girl, and here she was in the Supreme Court of the United States. You know, so good for them, good for her.
Yeah. So yeah. See,
I did not know that. I did not know that predated
Brown versus
Board of Education. Wow, look at that.
Yeah.
I learned that.
See, today you listened, laughed, and learned yourself.
I learned today.
See,
I learned today. So wow, there we go. Good for her.
yeah.
Good for her. Anyway, well, everybody, we hope you listened, laughed, and learned. I know I did. And as always, grab your. It's been a long day.
It's been a long day. Yeah, you've had a lot.
Your pastelito, your croqueta, and your cafecito. And thank you so much. That was episode 127. Happy Friday, Pero Friday. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Bye, mi gente. Cuídense. Pero Let Me Tell You is co-hosted by Darian Borges and Ismaeliano, produced by Ismaeliano, and our theme, Pero Let Me Tell You Freestyle, is composed by Michael Angelo Lamleplex, the official gay guy. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes.